snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So today I'm going to be reviewing The One, which is book number 3 in the Selection Trilogy by Kiera Cass. This book I have been waiting for ages, and it finally came out on the Kindle on June 5th and I read it on, I think, June 6th. So I read it in a day. It was very, very fast paced and very easy to get through, much like the other books. It was quite short. So let's get on with the review. I ended up giving this book a 4.5 star rating out of 5. Just because I cried a little bit more in book number 2. I know it's a bit wussy that they made me cry, but actually I have a real guilty pleasure for these books. I think they are so funny and interesting and just so different to all the fantasy that I read. So much more girly and quirky. This is the story of Maxon and America. America is a young girl who has entered into, basically it's the Bachelor, but it's basically called the Selection. So she has entered into the Selection, and the prince, who is Maxon, has to choose one of the girls from the Selection to be his wife. And they go through all sorts of hosting parties, and they do all sorts of big events that they've got to do interviews as well. So they do all sorts of things to kind of prove how well they're going to work in the castle and how things are going to go. And then eventually the prince will decide on one of them to be his wife. Together they are the main characters, they are the ideal couple. America is a wonderful, witty and funny girl who stands up for herself and stands up for the things that she believes in. And Maxon is a little bit more shy, he's a little bit more introverted, but with a little bit of help he can definitely be a ruler that would be very, very well remembered and well received by the country when he actually gets to be the king. One thing that I really did like about this story is that although the romance is obviously the key storyline, there is a political intrigue storyline that is going on as well. This seemed to make it much deeper and much more interesting in my eyes. I thought it was a very, very cool thing to include, and it definitely made things just more than just a sort of silly little book. It was actually very interesting. It had thought behind it, which was a really nice thing to see. I really did like some of the characters who we meet more in this book as well, such as Georgia and August, because those two we sort of see very briefly in book 2, but we meet more of them in book number 3. And actually Georgia is a really, really sweet girl who is just trying to be friends with America. They really like her and they support her, and they think that she is a wonderful potential queen. I felt that some of the characters who we already know really developed in this story as well, such as Celeste, who was quite horrible throughout the first 2 books and who I really didn't like. She was very nasty, very bitter and very evil towards everyone, trying to sabotage everyone. But in this book she develops so much more as a character and she becomes a much nicer person, and we kind of see a lot more into her past and why she decided to act this way and be sort of all out aggressive towards everyone as opposed to just trying to be nice to everyone. So we kind of get to see why she has some insecurities and things like that, and that's a really good thing to see. Very, very nice to see a change in personality from her for the better. Chris and Elise were also fun characters to read about, but they too showed more of their true intentions in this book. Up until this point they've all kind of got along with one another fairly well, but in this book we kind of see more about their backgrounds as well and the things that they were raised to believe and why they are really part of the Selection. I would say that the ending of this book and this series is a good one. I definitely didn't have any issues with the ending, except that it was a little bit abrupt and a bit sudden. I would have liked a little bit more warning or a little bit of an epilogue or something like that maybe, that would have stretched it out and given us a little bit more detail as to what happens after the ending. But I would say that it was a good ending to the series and I think it really worked. I would say that if you like YA that is really fast paced and girly and fun and just very witty and entertaining, this is definitely a very fast paced and fun series to read. I enjoyed it a lot, and usually I don't really like this sort of thing, but The Bachelor is just one of those weaknesses that I have. I really like the TV show, and so I really like these books because they are so similar and just so funny, so I would definitely recommend it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. As I said, really loved this book and I really enjoyed the series, so please do let me know if you have read this book and what you thought of it. I would love to hear what you think of it, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat.